To start, Elon Musk says he is now debating the quantity of bots on Twitter. He now asserts that it is impossible to determine the number of bots, that it is beyond human comprehension, and that you will want some kind of sorcery like witchcraft or alchemy. Elon explains how someone might approve 1,000 distinct accounts, which would essentially allow them to determine the total number of bots. What people on Twitter actually need are real people. Opt for 1-to-1 rather than 1,000-to-1 sales, since it is unlikely that you will sell a single toast to 1,000 bots. It would be disproportionate to sell it to one person when that one person represents 1,000 people. However, it may be excessive given the political ramifications of having a large number of bot farms, support politicians with a specific political ideology. By flooding the air with rhetoric that is either pro or anti-certain candidates, you're really stifling free speech. Elon Musk claims that your enormous bot problem appears absurd. It isn't comparable to atom splitting. This should be extremely easy for us to resolve very soon. Does anyone actually have that experience? Elon Musk said, adding that it is beyond unreasonable for Twitter to claim that the number of real humans is over 95%. Twitter should be able to tell us how many bots there are. The crowd erupted in laughter. According to his estimation, the number of bots is 4 or 5 times more than what Twitter has disclosed in its open filings. This implies that Twitter's revenue may have decreased by 20% as a result. A 20% discount is available. $10.80 would be its value if you valued it at $54. Twitter has clearly dropped far more than that, but that is because if Twitter comes out and gets complacent, the agreement will not go through. If it turned out that their revenue had been exaggerated by 20%, just think of the number of shareholder lawsuits they would be facing. Elon Musk contends, however, that his tweet, which has received 4.7 million likes, is the most liked one in the world. Next time buying Coca-Cola to put the cocaine back in was the tweet that Elon posted. He said that if the public wants this, Coca-Cola should return to its original source. How can a tweet like that represent only 2 to 2.5% of the entire user base of Twitter? He questioned, jokingly, of course. Elon Musk believes that a higher ratio should be present at this point. Some might have a rationale. Only about 5 to 10% of viewers of videos really hit the like or dislike buttons, but they still watch the content since it's more akin to an impression meter. You won't really notice the difference between clicking on the video and watching it. It's impossible to determine on Twitter whether someone was reading or just scrolling when they glanced aside, then scrolled again. Therefore, it's challenging to estimate those kinds of perceptions and the number of people who really click the like button. Perhaps just one of you are unaware that Twitter should be aware of this, but it doesn't seem like they do. Elon Musk finds the uncertainty frustrating. He discusses the need for an open source algorithm. How the more questions he asks, the more concerned he becomes, and how ultimately he wants the data. That was, in fact, one of his quotations. He responds to the notion that he's attempting a right-wing coup here, since that is how the extreme left describes the arrangement. Elon also talks about how he can evaluate ads if bots produce a large number of impressions and the ads are impression-based. In what way does this fairly represent companies trying to market their brands? He is therefore effectively drawing this contrast. Not to mention the insurance sector, which is rife with inefficiencies. Elon inquires, why do you have to pay 30 to 40% of your payment on a lease for a car for insurance and then not get rewarded for driving better? He went on to say that being 20 odd and receiving insurance simply because you're 20 gets you ruined. In general, drivers under the age of 21 drive less poor. But if you drive well or are motivated to do so by your real-time safety score, your insurance rate will go down. Thus, in addition to encouraging better driving, they can now offer individuals who pose less of a danger lower insurance rates. The most often asked question is up next. Will the Twitter acquisition close? Right now, he says it varies, and he's waiting on a good reason for the spam accounts. He alleges that because Twitter uses a convoluted process that only a select few are familiar with, it is refusing to notify him. Is there any way to accomplish this transaction for less money? At this moment, he inquires and states that it's not impossible still. He makes no clear indication that he's haggling. The podcasters on stage seem to be saying that now would be a great time to bargain. For instance, the house would be worth less if I were a buyer and discovered upon inspection that although having 5% termites, it actually has 90 termites. Rather than buying a house, you are buying a termite. Thus, a little amount of this engineering talk about just getting started and accomplishing something. Right now, Elon is considering how to draw in the best engineers. Elon stated, "My natural tendency is to begin at the beginning." Both SpaceX and Tesla began as startups, employing about 5 workers each. It is evident that Twitter had a decline from approximately phi to A2 during the day. The goal of SpaceX, which he later acquired, is to establish life on planetary worlds. He discusses how we might construct larger telescopes, satellites on the moon, or faraway areas to get a little better view of the planet. Furthermore, he stated that California has changed from being the land of opportunity to one that is beset by excessive regulations, taxes, and legal disputes. This is not a good situation, he remarked. Giga structures, 3 or 4 times the size of the Pentagon, were built in 18 months in California. I'll still be waiting on permits if we try to build this. Elon said, though, that people have to change if they want this. Since California is currently a one-party state, there has to be a chance that Republicans would win that is bigger than 0. He also made allusion to China when he said that Gavin Newsom couldn't establish a Tesla factory even if you put a gun to his head. People are fleeing because there are too many litigators and too many regulations. After nights, he discusses recessions and how they aren't always bad. Everyone gets rich like an idiot during a boom. Consequently, there's a misallocation of capital as people spend money on unnecessary items. Recessions are therefore like cleaning out your house and not knowing where the sunshine is, or an economic enema. Now, let's look at the Carvana case, because consumers spend money carelessly during a boom and are unaware that good times don't last forever. The company just lay off 12,000 employees or nothing of its sales force. Let's say, for instance, that you had planned to purchase a plane, but change your mind after learning that there could be a recession the next year. As a result, you decided not to invest in an asset when consumers began to tighten their budgets once more. That can possibly lose half of their value, leaving you insolvent. It is important to preserve your base and pay your taxes to avoid being caught completely on margin or in a highly dangerous speculative trade where you are all in on speculation and lose everything. According to Elon Musk, we are most likely in a recession and that things will only grow worse over the next 12 to 18 months. Many believe that our suffering won't end for at least another year, if not longer, perhaps until 2024 or even 2025. But when you consider how long the dot-com bubble took to burst from 2000 to 2003, you see that this is taking a while. Elon Musk also talks about immigration and the idea that anyone should be able to work hard in the United States. Why doesn't someone who wants to work extremely hard here and forgoes all advantages, for instance, get admitted? Those who have experienced this frequently ponder why hiring someone from another country is so challenging. Why is getting a PhD required to go through a 2-year application process? Elon Musk goes on to claim that the government created $1 trillion more than it actually possessed, and that inflation results if the velocity of money is maintained constant. This is the apparent cause of inflation. He then talks briefly about China, emphasizing that the country's citizens have a great work ethic. He said, look, Americans, we got to step up our game. In response to a question concerning the differences between Chinese and Americans, although Tesla has strong workers and people who drive a fantastic company, the Tesla China team consistently outperforms the Chinese labor force in terms of work ethic. Put another way, the Tesla China crew generally exhibits a higher work ethic than that of the United States. He went on to say that he is merely presenting the facts and does not mean that there aren't hardworking Americans who work at Tesla.